my gosh, hi, my name is Emily Good, and this video is going to be me reading two classic horror novels. I couldn't think of anything more classic than these two. And I've been horrific about sitting down to film lately, so I was like, I'm reading, I just haven't been talking about what I'm reading. So I figured that both of the kids are kind of relaxed right now, so I'm going to tell you what I've been reading, and I'm going to just start checking in with how it's going. So the book that I'm pleasantly surprised to be enjoying so much is Dracula. I don't know why I have to say it like that whenever I say Dracula. But it's by Bram Stoker. If you don't know, it was basically written a very long time ago. Okay, so I've been intimidated because it was published in 1897, which, you know, books that were written that long ago just tend to be a little bit more difficult for the average person to read. So I've kind of wanted to read it for years, but this was the year. This was my year to finally pick it up. I was like, Emily, just pick it up. Just dive into it. And I am enjoying it so much. So I've heard that it is comprised of like journal entries, diary entries, letters, things like that, which sometimes doesn't appeal to me the most just because I'm not sure why in my head like that type of book doesn't sound very appealing to me. I just want to watch the story unfold. I don't want to have to go back and forth a whole lot, but I have been pleasantly surprised at honestly how easy this has been to follow along with, how invested I am with every single letter, every single character. I wanted to write down all the characters' names, and I swear to you, I will do it before the end of this video. I will tell you every character's name and like who, but you know what? I'm 26 weeks pregnant. I don't have the best memory as it is, and but I'll kind of tell you the gist of what's going on. So the book starts out, this guy, this guy is going to Count Dracula's mansion, and as he's going in, like, people are making the cross. He's traveling. He's been invited to Count Dracula's. Count Dracula was really nice, seemed like a stand-up guy. He invited him to come and stay at his house. Like, the main guy like helped Count Dracula find a residence in England, I believe. So that's kind of their connection. And trouble ensues. And you find out about the trouble ensuing by diary entries, which was really actually way more interesting than I thought that it would be. And he talks about his fiance Mina, and then it kind of shifts to her, and we don't hear from the main guy for a while. Or I don't actually, I'm at the point of the book, I don't know if we hear from him again at all. So it shifts to Mina, his fiance, and she's worried because she hasn't heard from him. She hasn't really talked to him, and she is corresponding back and forth with her best girlfriend, who is Lucy. So I'm remembering stuff. I just can't remember the main guy's name. So I'm enjoying like the corresponding between the two of them. It's two girls talking about their life. The one gets proposed to like 3 different times, so she's going through all of her different suitors. It's a super cute friendship, which I was not expecting. But like throughout the correspondence, I was enjoying it so much. I was like, I can't believe that I'm like enjoying this so much. I don't know. It's just kind of exciting when you're really into a classic, because you're like, wow, I must be like literary or smart or something. The fact that I'm enjoying this right now. So basically, I was just feeling kind of supreme, and honestly, like, I've loved the transition from plot line, like, to plot line, the different characters. Like, I'm assuming that they're all connected. But I'm just kind of putting out the window anything I know about, like, vampires. I'm putting that completely out of my mind. So I'm just kind of taking the story for as I'm reading it. So I'm about 150 pages in. Both of the kids, like I said, my daughter is asleep. My son is in there watching his show. And I actually think I'm going to be able to sit. I got a bat blanket that is extremely soft. I was allotted some money for some Halloween things. And I made the best purchase ever in this blanket. I'm so happy with it. And it's perfect for reading Dracula. So yeah, okay, so that's the first book that I'm reading. And then the other book that I'll be covering in this vlog, which I hope that I enjoy just as much. I actually think that I've seen more people enjoyed Frankenstein than Dracula. So both of these copies are my Penguin Classics Deluxe editions, which I am obsessed with. I love them. I love a good floppy paperback. And I'm like, what could be more classic than Frankenstein and Dracula? I'm just feeling so, like, I feel like I'm getting in with a crowd right now. I'm getting in with some inside jokes. I'm getting in with the cool horror crowd. So hopefully that is true. I feel like I'm just really, like, entering a new level by reading both of these right now. So I'm really excited. I'm enjoying Dracula so much, and I hope that I enjoyed Frankenstein just as much. So I'll update you as things happen with Dracula. I'm so enjoying it. I wish that I would have started vlogging earlier, but my stepkids were here, and then I just was constantly feeling like an elephant was sitting on my chest. And you know, I've just been struggling again, and I'm like, no. I'm going to continue reading. When I'm not into a book, I'm just going to put it down and pick up something else. I'm not doing this back and forth, teeter-totter, seesaw type of game. So here I am making content, and reading and talking about books, which makes me happy. So yeah, I'm very excited to be reading these two classics. So yeah. Hi. Okay, so a little update on Dracula. I am now on page 321. And as always, my vlogs will pretty much always contain spoilers, because I just want to talk about what I just read. So I just knew that something was going to happen with that sweet little Mina. I just knew it was, and I knew that something was going on. But okay, so I was correct. Dracula has sucked her blood, and she has sucked his blood now. It's really wild the way I'm excited to read more vampire books, knowing and also I learned that Dracula is not the original vampire book. I apologize for saying so. I think I've said that in a couple of other videos. I genuinely didn't know, but I think that it's Camilla that is the original. So I do have that on my Audible. I think I'm going to listen to that next. But I am very intrigued that, like, once Dracula touches you, you just want to give in to him, which is like, I don't know. I mean, like, what could be stronger than, like, when you touch somebody, they want to do whatever you want them to do. I mean, I don't see a greater superhero strength. So I'm like, what is going to happen? Now Dracula told Mina that, he kind of let her in that he's known what they all were doing, what she and her band of cohorts have been up to. Like, he knows that they're trying to take him out, which of course they didn't know that he knew that. So that's big news. And he also told her that she and him, that Mina and Dracula are now connected because she has sucked his blood, and basically she is now at his power to do his bidding. But she's talking to Dr. Seward, her husband, Van Helsing, and Quincy. So they're all just finding out this, and now I don't know what the hell's gonna happen. It's so good though. It's so good. I'm loving this book. I really, really am, and I just want to read all the vampire books now. So I've been looking into like different vampire books. I think that one of the other ones that I really want to read is A Dowry of Blood. I read it and it sounded like really good to me, and of course Camilla, and I also want to read An Interview with a Vampire. So those are the different vampire-y books, but for the purposes of this vlog, I want to read the 2 classics. So I wonder if I'll love Frankenstein the way that I love Dracula. I would just feel so awesome if I did, but I really don't see me loving anything more than I'm loving Dracula. I will absolutely reread it. I am loving this so much. Yes, so that is my little update. Okay, so I've gotten a little bit further, and I totally forgot to say something earlier. Something that I noticed, something that kind of annoyed me / didn't surprise me because of, you know, how long ago this book was written, and I mean, even current day books like kind of go along this theme, but all these men have been protecting Mina by like keeping information from her. They were keeping her kind of away from their like manly work, which is like trying to hunt down Dracula and those of the undead. And I just knew that something was going to happen where she was going to be put full force. And you know, I have several like different underlying things, but like all these men were trying to protect her and keep things from her because they just didn't think her little womanly soul, her poor little self, could handle it. And it's like, you know, I kind of feel like it with like kids is like, you know, as much as we try to like protect them and conceal things from them, like a fight between parents, for instance. I'm going a little bit off, but I hope that I'm able to bring it around to make sense. You know, like you're having a fight with your spouse or whatever, and your kids are there, but you tell them to go to the other room, and they're asking you questions and you're not telling them. It's like they are not stupid. They know that something is going on, and it's kind of worse for you not to explain to them exactly like what's going on, obviously in like gentler way, you know, maybe not the full truth always, if the details are a little bit gruesome or whatever. But I just feel like it's never a good idea to, especially when someone kind of knows something, like there's no point in concealing it because people are smarter than you give them credit for. Women are smarter than sometimes men give them credit for, which I guess is kind of our power. But yeah, I just knew that the way that, and Mina is stronger than all of them. You know, she's been attacked by Dracula. She's the one holding all these men now together because they're all freaking out. And, you know, now she's saying that she would kill herself before she would hurt somebody who she loves. And all these men are like falling apart at this. And of course, she's the one trying to like console these men because that's just how it goes. So I just thought that was funny. And I had to make note of it. Okay, so I finished Dracula. I finished it late last night. And 5 out of 5 for sure. I was committed from the beginning, and I was committed to the end. It always is harder to stay, for me, it's always harder to stay engaged with the book the longer it takes me to finish it, just because I'm kind of like, things seem to be drawn out, even though they might not be if I like read it in one sitting. But if it takes me over like a week to read a 420 page book, it's going to seem kind of drawn out. But I didn't even really feel like that. Like, I was never not looking forward to sitting down and reading the book. I thought that it was, honestly, if here's what I would suggest, if you've watched this vlog and you have not read Dracula, but you are interested in reading Dracula and you have Audible, it's a free download to download it's like a full cast. I forget the names of the people, but it was the free one. And I highly recommend listening along as well as reading the physical copy. Whatever you have to do to get the physical copy, I would just recommend it. There is lots of different dialects. There would have been times if I was only listening to it that I would have had a hard time following along. Like, it was really nice to see the pages and see who's writing, to start to differentiate the different voices. It just made the whole thing come to life for me, and it just was a beautiful, magnificent reading experience. And I'm now doing the same thing with Frankenstein. So I also downloaded the free version of Frankenstein, plus I'm reading my Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition. I always feel so funny saying that, but I have to say the whole thing because I just have to. So yeah, so I just started Frankenstein. I have absolutely nothing to report on it because I maybe got like, honey, okay, hang on. I maybe got like 5 pages in. I don't even know if I got that far. So yeah, I don't really have anything to report on Frankenstein, but wait, I'll go back and talk about, so Dracula was atmospheric. It started out in Count Dracula's castle. I think that immediately pulled me in. Like, there was immediately mystery and horror and atmosphere and the scary, 3 vampire women, and Dracula's like scaling the walls, and Jonathan Harker is like, what the hell? And he like discovers that he's a prison. And then it switches to, I definitely appreciated the book starting out like that because I was immediately drawn in. And then it switches to Mina and her friend Lucy's friendship / letters back and forth. It kind of switches to a more lighter aspect, and you come to really love the 2 girls, love their friendship. You then switch to a lot of attention on Lucy, and you come to love her. I mean, she's just very lovable. She's got 3 men who all propose to her in the same day. She feels terrible that she has to put any of them down. She's like, why can't I just marry more than 1 man? And I was like, yeah, why can't you marry more than 1 man? You should marry all of those men. And you know, the way that they all end up like trying to support her and love her, and just the way that this bandit of vampire slayers comes together, it's just very organic. It was beautiful. It did not feel forced. Nothing about the book seemed forced. Everything, good job, Roman. So yeah, I thought it was beautifully done. I loved it so much. I will absolutely be rereading it, multiple times. I feel it's absolutely one of my favorite classics I've ever read, let alone one of my favorite horror books I've ever read. I honestly loved it. And that's what I have to say about Dracula. I thought it was a beautiful reading experience. 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. Magnificent. So yeah, Frankenstein, I'm hoping that I'm just like as into it, you know. A part of me wanted to switch to something like a little bit lighter, but I was like, no, I really want to get these 2 classic horror books read this month. I'm just really feeling like that's something that I would like to do. So I'm moving right along to Frankenstein. I hope that I'm into it. Like, right now it seems like the main character, he's going on a voyage. He wants to be like an explorer, I'm thinking. I've had to like replay it a couple of times. That's why it took me so long to even get to like page 5, was because I was having kind of a hard time like understanding what he was talking about. So I hope that like the further I get into it, the more I I understand. Okay, so that's my cue. Okay, so I just finished volume 1 of Frankenstein. And I have to be honest, for the first, like, what was it, 60, 70 pages, only like the last little bit have I been into it. I was starting to be like, oh my gosh, do I not like this at all? It was honestly really difficult, really slow, really back to difficult to keep up with what was going on, like, because Victor, the main character, he's very interested in science. He's very interested in scientists. He studies them. He's like away from home. He's passionate about science, and it was kind of hard for me to keep up with what he was even talking about. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, when is something else gonna happen? And then, of course, it did. So these are all going to be spoilers, of course. But I finally got interested in it when, well, the monster, Frankenstein, awoke. Because then, like, it's like something's happening now. And then his family writes him because he's away at school, and his baby brother has been murdered. Not died, he was murdered. And Frankenstein has escaped from Victor, and Victor's kind of like, awesome, that that damn thing was scary. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm just gonna move on with my life as if I never created him. And of course, you know, paths are crossed apparently. So what just happened, and now I can see where it's gonna be really good, because like the fact that William, the brother, passed away, and now Victor is back with his family in Geneva. Somebody had to pay for the murder, and it's an innocent person, because alas, it was actually Frankenstein. We're pretty sure. That's kind of the assumption that's being made right now. And the reason why that assumption is being made is because number one, he's a monster that we know. This obviously might not be the case. I don't really know. I've never read it before. Maybe he's actually really nice. I don't know if you've ever seen the Monster Squad, but Frankenstein was actually really nice in that movie. So that could be the case, actually. We might just be making nasty assumptions. I don't know. But we're assuming that it was actually Frankenstein who murdered this poor innocent boy, and somebody else, a close family friend, is being put to death because of it. So now 2 innocent people have died at the hands of this monster that this Victor guy brought to life. So shit's getting real. Honestly, I've had a hard time like staying up reading it. I've read like 10 pages a night since starting it. But actually I think I'm going to stay up for a little bit longer, but I just wanted to update because I really was starting to get nervous about it, and I'm pleasantly into it. no. So, yeah. Okay, I'm like 80 pages from being finished. I think that the last check-in I did, yeah, the last check-in I did, I'm pretty sure I was saying, like, who knows, maybe he's not actually a bad monster. Like, maybe that's just, like, the interpretation so far. Like, maybe there's something more to the story. And literally, starting part two, we get to hear the monster Frankenstein kind of tell his story to Victor, his creator. And you, I don't know about you, but I felt really bad for him. He's this very large, scary looking creature who, if you saw him walking down the street, you'd run the other way. So no human wants anything to do with him. So he's wandering this world alone. He doesn't even have his creator, like, to keep him company, nothing. And he's just desperate for somebody or something. Like, he can't interact with the world at all. So he's kind of, you know, forced to live in the woods or in hiding. And he finds out who Victor's family is, actually, and that is how he ends up. He, like, I don't want to say luckily, he luckily ran into the Victor's little brother, but lucky for Frankenstein, I guess. Um, but yeah, so that's how he went to kill the little brother. And now things are really spicing up because he basically has told Victor's in a tough spot now because Frankenstein has told him his story, has told him, like, why he's committed the crimes that he has. And he tells Victor that he demands a partner. He wants another creature to be made exactly as himself, just a female, so that he can kind of, like, live his life with her, so that he's not alone. And he basically says that if he doesn't, Frankenstein tells Victor that if he doesn't do it, that he's going to just, like, wreak havoc on his entire life. Victor has a choice to make. He either can make Frankenstein a partner, or he can go against what Frankenstein is telling him he needs to do. Because basically the issue is with Victor, he's like, okay, well, he's killed my younger brother already. Why would I create another monster who might be even worse than this guy, and just wreak, like, another monster onto the world? Like, why would I do that? So Victor decides not to do it, and Frankenstein is pissed. So I think a whole bunch of hell is about to break loose. So I think things are about to get really interesting. So I wasn't that into it. Took me a while to get into it. Obviously, I'm not Mary Shelley. She has written a book that has stood the test of time. So for me to give any type of critique of her writing ability or her storytelling would be so ridiculous. But I guess if she were to listen to me, what I would probably say I would do differently with the book as a reader is take a little bit less time with the sciencey stuff and just get right to Frankenstein. Because I didn't feel like all that mumbo jumbo in the beginning was entirely necessary. I think, like, history and stuff is, of the character and stuff and like his family and everything, but um, I would have preferred to have more Frankenstein because now I have less than 100 pages left. And I'm like, how is all this going to tie up? Like, what the hell is even about to happen? So, yeah, that's my opinion so far. I should be finishing it tonight. I don't know if I'll check in again tonight. Just because my daughter. Whoa, yeah. Be careful, honey. So, yeah, that's my check-in. Okay, so I finished Frankenstein last night, and I ended up really, really enjoying it. Just because I wasn't hooked from beginning to end, I'm gonna go ahead and rate it a 4. But the further I was into it, the more into it I got. What was my favorite part? It was tough. Like, it was really tough to know how I felt about Frankenstein. He was really scary, honestly. I'm now really interested in reading different spin-offs about Frankenstein. Like, I don't know whose side I was on, if it was Victor's or Frankenstein the monster. I don't know. Like, I just had a tremendous amount of empathy at the end for Frankenstein and the way that the book ended, like, of him. I just ate a bunch of chocolate. that's what that was. But Frankenstein ended up coming to, I'm thinking it was a boat. That's the thing about Frankenstein. I had a hard time sometimes like understanding really like where I was at. Things weren't so spelled out for me as they were in Dracula, which I don't even know why I'm comparing the two. Because they're two totally different things. But like with Dracula, I felt like I knew everything that was happening at every moment. And with Frankenstein, I was having a hard time keeping up with what was going on at different parts. So at the end, when Victor, passes away, Frankenstein has nothing left to live for. He's lost his chance to have a partner be made. So he's going to essentially go burn himself alive, I think, is how he was going to end it. And I felt very sad at the end of the book, whereas with Dracula, it was kind of like a happier ending, sort of. But yeah, with Frankenstein, it was really beautiful the way that it ended because it was so sad. Like, Frankenstein now, I don't know. It's kind of like how you feel about like when an adult, has committed heinous crimes, and now they're in trial and you're hearing about their past, and they grew up without parents, they grew up being molested or abused. It's like that's all they know is violence and pain. So it's like, if a person's never been taught shown love or acceptance or anything, if you're just called a monster your whole life, then you're going to act like a monster. So I thought it was a really good lesson. And I thought it was honestly really beautiful. I think that upon a reread, I'll enjoy it more. I think that I'll get more out of it just because, like I said, there was so much that I just really I wasn't following. Like, I didn't really understand what was happening some of the time. But I do believe that upon a reread, that I would enjoy it a lot more. So I definitely plan on rereading it in the future. Maybe like a yearly reread, that and Dracula. But yeah, so that is the end of this vlog. I super enjoyed both books. Dracula was a 5. I enjoyed every step of the way with it. Frankenstein was a little bit slower getting into, but I thought that the ending was more beautiful than Dracula was. Uh, and I love the lesson that came with it. I love like what I took away from it. So, two gorgeous books. I can definitely understand why they are still read to this day. And I'm very, very, very glad to say that I have read them now. So thanks so much for watching. Take care. See you in the next one. Bye.